all of us as entrepreneurs, we need to take ultimate responsibility of everything that's going on in the business. So even if you have a project manager, they should still only be doing 90% of these responsibilities. And that final 10% should be up to you. So whether it's 90% or whether you're doing 100% of these, whether you're doing 10% of these, the responsibility is ultimately on you. Could you imagine, I mean, maybe you guys do it, but I could never do it. Could you imagine going into a flip and saying, I'm going to hire this guy, he's in charge of my budget? I would not feel comfortable with that, right? I'm going to hire this guy, he's going to create my scope of work. I keep pointing to you, I'm sorry. I'm going to hire this guy, he's going to create my scope of work, right? Well, what if he puts tile in places where you don't need tile? What if he doesn't fix the crawl space, right? All that stuff. So again, I can keep going down the line, but you should never sub out 100% of these responsibilities to anybody. You need to take responsibility for some of it as well. All right, so we'll jump to the next one. Now, this is a slightly new presentation. I've been doing a slightly different one, but this time I'm going to kind of start with my story. And that way we don't have to get do the bio slide and all that stuff too. But I think this story is a really good example of what I learned in project management. So first, I had my first investment. I actually invested, for all our young guys, my last semester in college was my first purchase a rental. It was going to be a flip, turned into a rental for a couple years. You know how that goes, and then sold it. But my learning lesson, well, so to start off, right, I buy this deal in college. I was a victim of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm sure a handful of you guys were as well. Who else was a victim of Rich Dad Poor Dad? Awesome. Not a victim, right? Yeah, that's right. But immediately I'm like, I'm in real estate. That's what I'm doing. Even if I do this for a little bit of time, I'm going to be in real estate. I raised some money, believe it or not. At that time, I got a partner and we invested in this deal. And he tells me one day I need to make a budget. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then it really sunk in. Like 30 seconds later, I was like, wait, I have no clue how to make a budget. I don't know what we're doing on the house. I don't know how much paint is going to cost. I remember getting my first paint bid back and being like, this guy is, I don't want to say screwing me over. Like, this is so much money. And they're like, no, that's what paint costs, right? Who got their first paint bill and was like, I can paint, you know? It's like $7,000 for a house, right? So that's what I was going through at the time, was like, I don't know how to make this stuff. I don't know what it's supposed to cost. And my learning lesson was, like I said, I know nothing about construction. Number two, there's nowhere to find it. So, you know, like a responsible early business owner, I tried to go to Google. I tried to find resources, books, coaches. I couldn't find anything. So essentially everything I'm about to talk about here is kind of the stepping stones to leading me to start building out information about project management. So I got through the first investment. We can go ahead. And luckily made money. It was great. Never looked back. Always been in real estate. And I was lucky enough to meet another investor in town who was way beyond me. He was doing 50 to 100 flips a year, or at least projects a year. Yeah, very massive. My average was 75 a year that I was project managing for him. So it was dozens at a time, in and out. We had a lot of people to help us out, but I was a project manager for all those projects. So I started making the budgets, the scopes of work, all that stuff. And that's where I really got to learn. Because like I said, before that, I knew nothing about it. I knew so little about construction that my boss, he already hired me. Maybe after this, he thought differently. He took me into Lowe's, grabbed a Cobalt toolbox, threw a bunch of tools in it. I'm like, cool, he's getting me a toolbox, right? He puts it in my car. Don't have a truck at the time. I have a little Nissan Altima. Puts it in my car, and he starts pulling out the tools and quizzing me. And I was like, I wasn't expecting this, right? I failed miserably. Like if it was a test, it was an F minus or whatever it is. Like I failed miserably. Like I said, after that, maybe he's like, this guy's no good. But I studied, I paid attention, I did everything I could to document everything I learned. So my learning lesson for this one was, I need to document, I need to take notes. Just like all of us should be doing in our businesses, you should be documenting everything you do. That could be one of just a business lesson to take away from today. Years down the road, if you're year 1, year 2, year 3, you should be documenting everything, whether it's just documents, whether it's spreadsheets, whether it's screen recordings or videos. All that's very important. And nowadays we have VAs. You could just send all that stuff to the VAs and completely sub out your business. Regardless, I started taking notes. I started making processes, and I even started making enough processes that I internally changed the project management of that business till this day. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I ended up jumping out on my own. And the first thing I said is, I need to start making money. I can't just flip. I did start flipping, but I need to make more, money on the side. So I started doing contracting, and specifically I did contracting for investors. There's a couple reasons. One, I was still looking to get into that community, and I wanted to be around that business. And I was around that business for hundreds of rehabs, so I might as well have stayed in what I do. And working with a bunch of other investors, the lesson I learned was everybody struggles with the same thing. Make sure it's my learning lesson. Everybody struggles from the same thing, okay? Everybody in this business, I don't care how experienced they were, how new they are, everybody's struggling with this part of the business, okay? And again, this is another reason why it surprises me that nobody's really putting this information together. Okay, so I was a contractor. At the same time, I started flipping, and nowadays I'm basically strictly new construction. Flipped and developed quite a bit. I've been a part of hundreds of investment properties, flips, developments, and really was able to solidify my 10,000 hours in this business. Anybody know what I mean by 10,000 hours? Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, it's a Malcolm Gladwell reference. It's what he says, 10,000 hours is what makes you an expert. Now, I tell people this all the time. In construction, you might need 20,000 hours. There's really so much to learn that even after all my time, I'm consistently learning. Thomas just taught me something today, something I've never seen. So as a flipper and developer, one thing I really started noticing is as I was staying in the community and networking, I started noticing that we were actually doing pretty good. We were making good profit. We're not losing money. We were doing it without headaches. We were taking on big projects. We were running at a good scale, and things were going pretty good. And I was talking to other people. I was like, I have a business partner, by the way. I don't do all this by myself. I had a business partner, and I remember talking to him like, we're doing pretty good. Like, people are losing money on deals. Like, even in hot markets, people are losing money. People are just scraping by. Like, we had a really, really good average profit margin. And I started thinking, what could this be? Well, both of us came from a construction background. Both of us do these things like it was, because we've done so many, it was kind of second nature to us at that point. So my biggest learning lesson here was the skill set does lead to more profit, less headaches. Okay, it's the only tool I brought into this business. I wasn't a salesman. I wasn't a marketer. Still not a marketer for sure. I didn't have money. All I brought was my expertise in project management. And we were able to make really good profit leveraging this education. So eventually people started asking me to coach them and consult them. Okay, so I started consulting business, a coaching business. And as I dove into other people's businesses, I started helping them out. I started coaching them. I learned the same learning lesson again, which is this skill set leads to more profit and less headaches. Okay, so it's good enough I had to say it twice. I'm telling you right now, the only thing I came into this business with was understanding of construction and management, and that's what's allowed me and our company to be where we are. So we have a very high average profit margin. Luckily, knock on wood, we've never lost money on a deal. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because one of my closest mentors says if you haven't lost money on a deal, you haven't invested long enough. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Which there's an absolute point to that, okay? But luckily, we haven't run into that yet. And all of this, I really think, is because we put good budgets together and they're dependable, okay? We hire contractors with a good scope of work, with good communication. We have a strong team, okay? We put We know how to schedule people properly. Again, that's strong team, strong performance, quicker finish lines, less expense and holding costs. So all this stuff mixes into the pot and just really helps us make more money and do it with less headaches. All right, so that's my story. Oh, I got to show off. Sorry. So yeah, we did a lot of projects. We've done a lot in Richmond, Churchill, Richmond. That's Churchill as well. North Side. Those are my two neighborhoods in Richmond I kind of work in. You can go another. Just some more. We've renovated duplex. I haven't new construction built a duplex yet, but we've done plenty of renovations. Some more kitchens and baths. These are a couple of my favorite at the bottom. That was my first kitchen up to the right. Another north side house. And something I'm trying to get across here with these pictures is we did a lot of this and we made a lot of money taking on deals that other people wouldn't, right? So when you look at these two, a lot of people get scared, right? Especially that right one. I got scared at the right one. That's a house with no joists, no floors, no ceiling. Okay, it's just a brick box and a roof. But we were able to capitalize on these deals when other people weren't. You know what that helped us do? Negotiate better deals. All right, we weren't competing against everybody else on Facebook, which I hate. If anybody puts a deal on Facebook, I'm not bidding on it. And yeah, so there's a lot of profit margin in these as long as you run a good budget and you negotiate the right price. So these are some of the befores we've had. I think if you click another, that's a burn down, Thomas.
Looks like Tom's house.
Yeah, exactly. So these are some of the new constructions we're building currently. Both of these are current. You can do another one. This is current too. So this is 4 we're building in Northside Richmond. This one I'm very excited about. Pretty proud about it too. Those are going to turn out pretty cool. But yeah, so that's everything we've done. And through all of that time, I've learned why project management is so important. So why don't we go, yeah, you could do maybe 2 more. 1 more? Cool. So I've talked about all this. I don't have to say it again. I keep hitting the same points. Make more profit, more predictable, right? Have better relationships, less headaches, all that stuff. Don't have to go too much further. Is that a hand?
Oh, no, sorry.
That was right up here too. Awesome. So I don't have to go too much more into this, but I'm going to focus on this bottom part to take us through a quick exercise that I think everybody enjoys for the most part. So we'll go 1 more. I'm telling you, I'm going to make you click so much. Why don't we go 1 more? Let's, yeah, you can see the pictures. We'll go, I think there's 1 more picture. Then there's a question. Oh, wait. 1 more? Sweet. All right, so let's look at a potential deal, okay? Wholesale deal is on the market, okay? This is all the information I'm getting you. There's some presentations where they're like, give me more information. I'm like, no, this is the point, is 165 contract for sale, $500,000 ARV, hot area, hot market. So this isn't right now where it's a little bit in between. This was like 2021 when appreciation just shot through and everybody's selling left and right. This is a real deal. Full gut renovation. This is where I get the questions. $180,000 rehab. People say, oh, could I get it done for less? Just trust me. Let's go with this idea. $180,000 rehab. Full gut renovation. Would you buy this deal? Yeah. Yeah. Do I use the 78-30?
It's a $345,000 profit.
Wait.
Some people are using 85%.
For analyzing it, so 8% of ARV? Yeah, I only use percent of ARV when I'm looking to refinance. Yeah, for the most part, because of how expensive these are. So when you look at the $500,000, if you take the 20% away, that's $400,000. You know, so you can still make a big profit without hitting those percentages, if that makes sense.
I guess I'm talking about
Sure. Yeah, true.
Math on this, use the 70% rules.
Oh.
It'll come out.
Yeah.
To buy.
It'll come out to buy.
It sure will. Just do it real fast.
500
Yep.
You can actually offer a few dollars more.
Yep.
Right, 5,000 more.
Yeah, and that's still a good metric to go off for wholesalers, I would say, for sure. But if you look at this, I think most people who have a calculator would raise their hand and say yes. Now, I got Richmond people in the house. Maybe they've seen it too, but this was actually a wholesale deal that was on the market in Richmond. Okay? This was posted on Facebook. So talk about me bagging Facebook. This was posted on Facebook. And I told my partner, I said, I'm big wholesaler in Richmond. Okay, so everybody saw this. I said, hey, man, this was during the time where they weren't putting out good deals. So I'm not bashing anybody, but I was like, hey, they finally put out a good deal. Too bad it's on Facebook. We're not going to get it. A week later, he comes out. It actually started at 175, listed at 165. I said, ooh, there's something to go after here. So that's when I reached out. No offers on the property. Nobody was interested. We're the only people interested. We worked this down to 155. Talk about negotiating power, okay?
Is it because ARVs weren't going up as fast?
No, it's just because nobody was bidding on it. So as a wholesaler, he has a contract. What's that?
Because they have big rehab.
Yeah.
Because of the
Oh, yeah.
scale.
So that's my only
Somebody's got
theory.
$340,000
Yeah.
money in a pocket.
That's true. Yeah, and a lot of hard money. This is something that gets people out big flips too. So you should take a look at your money. A lot of hard money says we'll do 100% of your purchase, but you got to figure out your rehab costs. Well, you can't figure out that. You know, you're not going to put that into a house. You might as well buy a bunch. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Okay, I see your ARV 500,000.
Yeah.
Question to you: did you borrow the money or did you use the hard money? Did you pay cash or did you get a hard money?
Private money, cash.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only way. See, if you use a 70% ARV,
Mhm.
that's real tight. That's risky.
Sure is.
That's
Yeah.
real risky.
But that's only if. So do the math on 70%. What's the?
70%, 350,000.
So take a look at that profit margin though if you sell it. So that 350. So you said 350 is 70%, right? That means 150 is what you can make if you sell it. Well, you know, less.
Wait a minute. You bought it at 155.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna subtract 155,
165.
You got $195,000 left over for repair.
Yeah. No.
Is that correct?
No. The 180 is the repairs.
Okay, so 350 minus 180. Okay, you got 170 left over.
Yeah. You bought it
Out
for
of
155.
350. But then too, that doesn't include the sales price. They don't include the sales price.
I'm losing you. I'll go through the math in my head. Okay, so 165 plus 180. What's that? 345. Okay.
If you got an ARV,
110.
if you borrowing 350,
Mhm.
that's high risk. Am I correct? I'm not saying what you did is wrong, but I'm
Sure.
saying you got to have the knowledge and expertise to do that at that level that you're doing it at.
I would say it's not that risky because yeah.
350. That's all we can borrow. 350.
Yeah, but you're going to sell for 500.
Right.
Yeah, but if I'm lending you 350,000, man, you really gotta know what you're doing. See, 350 minus your sales price. What's your sales price again?
500.
No. You know, you bought it at 155, correct?
Why would you subtract?
No, you can only borrow 350,000 on that deal based on the ARV at 70%.
For a refinance?
No, for hard money.
For the hard money, that's where I'm going.
But why would hard money limit me at 70%?
That's what most of them lend.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? They don't lend at 100%. But I see what you're saying, though. You got.
Oh, so you're saying you have to bring in 150? Yes. So that's, yeah.
500 times 0.7 is
He said that's
350.
why a
You'll
lot of
get
people
the
weren't winning
350
that
from the
deal
hard money.
because it was such a big.
I know if you got somebody give 100% on that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I was saying too is look at your money because a lot of people don't get into these deals because of the money. Okay? find a good lender who does a little bit more. Yeah.
Well, if I saw this deal, I probably wouldn't go for it. He said he would, but I would go for it because I think I'm gonna go over the rehab budget.
Sure. Sure.
Hey, let me
Sure.
ask somebody in the room what he would do. Thomas, what would you do? Yeah, hang on a second. Do you have $350,000 in your pocket?
No,
What would you do?
Lenders who get
You would find a partner.
exactly or partner.
That's what I'm looking at.
Here's a good cheat code for you guys too. Cheat code. Here's something that I teach to my group. I teach to anybody, honestly. I do all of these on equity deals. Okay, so I get private money. I don't pay interest payments, so that's huge when you have that much. You know, the interest payments on this is pretty intense, right? You do 6 months of this with an interest payment that high, you got to have a lot of money in your pocket on top of probably bringing money for a down payment. We're able to scale our building flipping development business because our lenders, private, put all the money in. We don't pay interest payments, but they split part of the profit at the end. I don't mind telling you guys, we do 70-30 splits. We get 70, they get 30. They make more than most lenders, and they're okay with not getting interest payments because they make more than most lenders. So anyway, the point of what I'm saying here is if you're able to take these on, well, money is something you can find in this business, okay? If you can't find money, I know a couple here already, okay? Money is something you can find in this business. I want to make it so you guys don't have to pass up this deal, okay? So, Martine, if I promise you it's a 180 and say my crew would get them for 180, would you? Yeah. Yes, there you go. There you go. Yeah. It's a great question. That probably depends most on you and your business, your personal finances.
What was the question again for the?
He was saying if I had a deal like this and I could make a 10,000, 15,000 spread as a wholesaler or keep it and flip it, what would I do? Well, with this one, you'll see the profit in a second, and I think you guys have done the math. I would keep this all the time. It takes 6 months, but it pays outright. But I really think if a different time in my business, maybe I don't, right? So it's really depending on you. But what's interesting about this is a wholesaler was going in looking to make 20, he made 10, and you'll see what we made in a second. All right, let's go to the next one. Quick other example, okay? Wholesale deal, 105,000 contract. We'll try to run through this one. 450 ARV each, which actually turned into about 500. This is land, okay? So somebody's selling land, but you do know they're selling it with the information that you can split it and build 2 houses. Okay, so 105 for the land. You're going to cash out 900, okay? Or you're going to bring in 900 at the end. You're going to build 2 new construction homes. Would you buy this deal? This is a little bit more. Yeah.
So you got to know the budget on building on new construction.
Right. So new construction is something that not everybody goes in. You know, it's great if you can go into it. Just like we talked about, I can negotiate better. I'm not bidding against everybody on Facebook. Okay. The best part is nobody saw this deal. Okay. They brought it straight to me because there's only 4 or 5 people in town that he feels comfortable bringing these deals to. And I was one of them, and he promised me his next one. Thankfully, it was this one. Okay. But a lot of people wouldn't. They don't know how to build new construction. They don't feel comfortable making the budgets, understanding the numbers. But we teach that as well. And I'm telling you, if you guys can make one extra exit strategy, say that a bunch of times fast, so one more exit strategy is going to help you increase your bottom line every year. So let's go to the next one. Yeah.
How easy was it to get plumbing and electricity to that?
To new construction?
Yeah, to that one.
As standard as new construction. So, I mean, you have to work with the city. You have to have a contractor tap in. But
So this one was easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are new. I build new construction in the city. So I don't have to deal too much with weird lots and clearing and septic and stuff like that. It's pretty much like if it's there, clear it out, hook it up, you're good to go. Yeah. So It costs us about, for nice areas, we're building 140 per square foot. For rental properties, we're building at like 120. Okay, so anywhere in between there is kind of where you're looking.
Brandon, I might have missed it. How many acres was that?
Ooh, that is probably total 0.7. It's not big. Yeah, these are city homes. Yeah, yeah. The lot, actually no, an acre is like 12,000 square feet, I think, or 14,000. So maybe 0.8 acres. 12,000. Gotcha.
And
What's
that's
that?
in Richmond?
Richmond. Yep. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so driving the point home, can you capitalize on these deals? 3 houses I just showed you at the end, and all of them are 6-figure profits. Okay, so I ask people all the time, is it worth learning one more exit strategy to potentially add 6 figures to your bottom line in one deal, maybe 6 months of work? I think it's a no-brainer, right? And I understand the concern of I'm not used to this, I don't have a contractor for it, all that stuff. Well, that's why you have a network, right? Get to know me. I'm going to give my contact information at the end. If you ever need help, if you ever have questions, let me know. We also have a group for you guys that we'll talk about as well. But there's nothing that you can't accomplish in this business without the right network, right? So just think about it, right? Maybe you don't want to be a flipper developer and this is not for you. But if you're in the business of rehabbing, you're hiring contractors, paying them, already doing all this stuff, why wouldn't you take on just a slightly bigger project, make a little bit more money, right? And what's great about this is it continues to evolve, right? I got big plans of building commercial one day. I haven't even I haven't got close to it. But as you get bigger deals, you can potentially expand into those categories. All right, let's go ahead. I have a really bad habit of saying things before the slide pops. That's basically it. So maybe it makes it faster, right? But that's what I teach, okay? I teach people this because I want to get around people. Not only do I want to help people, but I want to get around other people who we're all elevating our business together, right? So I teach this. I found, like I said, I came into this business with one real value add, and I've always wanted to add value back to the real estate investing community. You have so many great people in this community who are constantly giving their experiences, their information, their processes. I know Martine's been one over the years, and I've always found that to be something I've looked up to. So I wanted to do it. It's brand new, but that's what I teach. And today I'm going to give you a few tips that we teach within our business. Or within our coaching program. Okay, so this is where I start going through tips. All right, it might be more boring or less boring than the $100,000 profit. I'm not telling you which one it is, but I'm gonna give you 5 good tips. And I always start with this tip because I think this gives the most aha moments. I still am surprised by how many I get. But be honest with me. I can't ask this question in Richmond anymore because I've changed everybody's mind in Richmond. But do you create your scope of work by room, or do you create your scope of work by trade? Or do you create scopes of work? Sounds like nobody does. By trade now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I love about room.
So, yep. So you'll see this little flow graph on the right. And I'll address that in a second, but let's start going through. Like I said, a lot of clicks. First of all, I think your scope of work is your most important document, okay? I know you may think it's a budget, you may think it's a schedule, but your budget is only accurate if your scope of work is accurate. Let's be 100% clear about that. If you have a bad scope of work, you have a bad budget, okay? It doesn't work in reverse, all right? So if we budget, schedule, and bid our project by trade, right? That means that when I create a budget, I'm making a budget for tile, not for kitchen, right? If I'm scheduling, I'm not telling the contractor to go in the kitchen first. I'm telling him to get tile done first, right? Or whatever it is, right? And same with bidding. I'm not going to give a contractor a scope of work by room and tell him to bid all the tile. Okay, then he's going to have to go through and figure out where all the tile is, bring it out, probably create his own scope of work, and then bid your job. Okay, I was a contractor at one point, and my last job, I love this story because I was dreaming to get out of contracting for a long time, and this is what did it. My last job, somebody handed me a scope of work by room, and I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm done with contracting because I didn't want to deal with all the, I would have to recreate a scope of work as a contractor. Okay, so let's go another one. Now, if you create a scope of work by room, like I said, you're not going to be able to budget off that. If you budget off of that, you're budgeting by room. I call this a HGTV effect. Okay, you watch HGTV shows where they walk into a bathroom. They say, hey, Mr. Contractor, how much does this bathroom cost? They say $10,000. That's not how a contractor's brain works. Okay, I can't think of how much that bathroom costs because the plumber who's doing the plumbing in the bathroom is also doing the plumbing in the kitchen, doing the plumbing throughout the house. Same with the electrician, the tile contractor, the vanities, bathtub, all that stuff, right? And ultimately, what we're trying to do is create a domino effect. Okay, so who's read The One Thing by Gary Keller? I'm a reading nerd, so I've brought 3 books up so far. But he talks about this thing called a domino effect. Okay, a domino effect, per his definition, is when you do the things first that make everything else either easier or not even relevant, not even necessary. Okay, that's what we're trying to do with our scope of work. And when we do it by room, we can't do all the things that we can do when you do it by trade. So if I build my scope of work once, I can now send this to my contractors to get a bid. I don't have to recreate anything. I don't have to do anything. If I'm subbing the job out, I just say, hey, look at tile. Hey, look at hardwood. You know, find your job in vanities, whatever it is, right? If I'm budgeting the project, I mean, you're literally having to do what we're telling you contractors are going to have to do, right? So you're going to have to find out how much the tile contractor is going to charge you for the entire house. Now you're going to have to go through your scope of work, find tile, put it all together, and then figure that out. You can't budget by room, right? So I can continue with these examples, but that's the whole idea of this flow chart, all right? One scope of work, you can make your budget off of it, you can make your bid off of it, and ideally, you can schedule off of it too, because the way we format it is in A to Z order, okay, chronological order, okay? Now, let's go one more, because I'm going to show you guys an example. So to the left, I know you can't read it, but the point is, well, let me go through it. The left is the scope of work that I recommend, okay? This is by trade. I have blocks here that say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. That's for teaching purposes, but you don't even need that, right? This is a scope of work by trade. Okay, so it goes demo, foundation, framing, exterior doors, windows, right, etc. Here I have a scope of work by room. First thing I'll tell you is that scope of work's not done. Okay, I had to cut it off because it doesn't fit any further. Okay, that's a 2 to 3 page, longer than that, and you can tell that's not a normal page, right? Like a normal page is right there. So they turn into really, really bulky documents. Now, again, if I'm a contractor and you hand me this, I go to tile, I see my scope of work. Okay, if I'm the project manager, I need to budget for tile, I see my scope of work, I put a budget to the right. Very simple, right? I'm project manager and I'm scheduling. I'm just going demo, foundation, I'm just going down the line, right? Now, when I'm over here, my contractor is going to hate me to bid it. I'm going to hate myself to budget it. And then I'm not going to be able to use it to schedule, right? Does that make sense? Have I convinced you now? I'm telling you, the reason I know this is because I was a project manager for a company who did it by room. And every time they handed it to me, I completely recreated it. Finally, one day I said, please make the scope of work like this. And they're like, why? And I explained it to them. They said, you know what? That makes sense. Okay? You get a different view of things when you're actually managing the project as a contractor, project manager, flipper, developer yourself. Okay? And these are all the things that I've always needed to do to make it a more streamlined process. I wanted to create a scope of work once and it helped everything else, right? And then when I make a budget, that should be helping everything else, and so on and so forth. All right, let's go to the next one. I think I have a question there, but again, I've talked before. All right, 2, I like to encourage people to create a database of construction costs and estimates. Okay, it seems very straightforward, right? But I started doing this day 1. Does anybody else keep track of construction costs? Beautiful. Love that. If you're not doing it, it's going to change your business forever. When it's time to budget, who's doing Google searches to find out how much tile costs? Anybody? I feel like people are lying to me. Because I do it too sometimes. All right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe the example is bad, but right. And all of us go into new projects that we do things that we're not used to, right? Like the subdivision we did, never had to do a land disturbance permit. And like it's all this technical stuff, erosion, sediment control plans, but never had to do it. I started Googling it. I started asking friends, all that stuff. It didn't give me a lot of answers, but it gives you something, right? But the idea is you shouldn't be doing Google searches when it's time to make a budget. Because you know what's happening? When I'm making a budget, Thomas is making a budget, Stu's making a budget, everybody's bidding on that same deal. I want to be the first one there, okay? I want to give the best offer, depending on the deal, the wholesaler, right? But I want to be able to do that faster because of 2 things. First, I'll get there faster. That's always a good thing, right? You don't want the wholesaler calling you, hey, give me a bid, give me a bid. I'm giving you an offer. I just need to check numbers. You don't want to be dealing with that. But you also don't want to spend 30 minutes an hour making a budget, give the offer, and then it's already gone, or somebody else gets the deal. You just wasted an hour when you could have been marketing, negotiating, working on your flip, all that stuff, right? So let's go ahead and click through this a couple times. Let's go till we see the spreadsheet. All right, so my job for you is start a spreadsheet, okay? Keep track of all the invoices, receipts, quotes, any information you have on it. Keep track of it, put in a folder, print it off, put in a paper folder, whatever it is, and start documenting the costs. It's going to start off looking very funny, right? You're just going to have a few there. But eventually you're going to build it to where this is actually old. We have a much newer one. It's even bigger. We have like 400 different cost estimates on it for probably everything. Let's say 95% of what you need as a rehair. And that actually goes to all of our members. So it's a huge, huge part of this business. I recommend everybody do it. And if you don't want to do it, you can jump on the group and get mine, shameless plug. But that's, you got to do it. You got to build it. It's got to be part of your business. So when you're finally making a budget, you don't take up too much time. Yeah.
How do you keep up with the changing costs? It's like every week things are costing more.
Yeah.
How often are you trying to do this?
Well, I do a little differently because of the group. I actually have a VA who works half the 20 hours to 40 hours a week just pulling construction costs, which has been one of the best decisions I ever made. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, no, that's not necessary. He's doing other parts of my business too. That's 100% not necessary. If you really think about it, you have a spreadsheet, right? You're at a networking event. You've done hardy siding. Do you guys use hardy much out here? Let's say vinyl siding. All right. So vinyl siding, you know that in the past, because you have it documented, you did it for $300 a square. You show up to this event, somebody's like, can you believe vinyl went up? I just paid $350 a square. Well, now it's a lot easier for you to just go in there and put 5 instead of just delete the 0, put a 5. It's very, 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 very simple. Very easy. It doesn't take much time at all. Okay. The longest time it takes is you organizing it the way you want to. Okay. But you're literally just documenting. Yeah. And to be honest with you, we saw crazy appreciation recently. Obviously, that's, well, I can't say unprecedented, but it doesn't happen much. At this rate, it's every 50 years or whatever. So that's not something we constantly have to deal with, Who knows how much longer we have to deal with it, but we'll see. All right, so keep the invoices, receipts, other quotes, anything you got. And this is one of the biggest things. You're going to notice the vacancies early. Okay, so you're going to notice that you don't know how much tile costs. Do a Google search. Put in something for the meantime. it's going to get more accurate over time. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a reference at first that over time gets molded into the best costs, okay? And we're going to create budgets in less time with more accuracy with this, okay? Does that make sense? It's pretty simple, right? But you'd be surprised. This is the most hands I've ever had raised on that question. I've actually never had hands raised on that question. And in this room alone, we had 4 or 5. So you guys are doing the right thing. And those who don't have this sheet, you should start building it. If you don't want to build it, come talk to me. And I got a good program for you. All right, next. Let's go to tip number 3. This is very simple, but you got to learn the construction schedule, okay? Who finds themselves struggling with the construction schedule, right? It's a very, very common struggle. It's a lot more common than people think, right? You get turnarounds, extra expenses, mistakes, delays in the schedule, right? But I'll tell you something else you get from it is better relationships with contractors. Okay, contractors want to work with people who understand the business. All right, if you're able to show that you understand the schedule, you're going to build those relationships. By the way, I'm going to talk about everything that's about to be on this slide, so might as well go it all the way out. Yep, I already talked about turnarounds, return trips, perfect, on schedule. Yeah, so your job is to learn this schedule, okay? Talk to your contractors, figure out how they like to be scheduled, okay? There's nothing worse than dealing with what I call the fogginess of construction, all right? It's kind of like that feeling I had when I first started the business, right? I walk in, I'm like, I don't know who to call. I don't know when they should come. That's a horrible place to be in, okay? And everybody's there at some point, right? But it's not a good place to be in when you literally are asking the question, who do I call, where do I go, what comes next? And that's a very, very common question. So you got to learn the schedule. It's not that difficult to learn. That's probably a couple Google searches too. We teach it, okay? We teach critical path. My first thing as a project manager, I got formal training. They sat me down in a room, kind of the size of this, maybe a little bit smaller, and they had those big Post-it notes, and they displayed the whole construction schedule around the walls, kept it there for 3 months for me to learn it. That was how important it was to them. And to be honest with you, I'd probably do the same thing. Because at the very least, if they don't know what things cost, or if they don't know how to build a scope of work, at least they know that framing goes before plumbing goes before HVAC goes, right? So at least they can keep my project going and we can work out all the details. But if you don't know the schedule, you're literally just stuck. The project's not moving. It's a bad place to be in, okay? So my third tip is, this is a very simple tip. I'm not giving you many, many tools to do it, but learn construction schedule and critical path, okay? It's going to benefit you more than you know, all right? Let's go to the next one. And I'll do the same thing here. We'll just put them all out. Let's say one more. Cool. Who here uses software? Project management software. Cool. Who uses Rehab Valuator software? I know we're not in Richmond. You do too? Awesome. Yeah, in Richmond, if you ask that question, it's 50% of the room. So Rehab Valuator is a project management software built by a developer in Richmond. Okay, he's become a good friend of mine, good buddy, great guy, down to earth, but he builds crazy. I mean, he builds, I don't know how many doors he's at. He's at hundreds, but like he's in the middle of like a 75 door apartment complex. He just finished a 60 door. He has a very, very nice 40 door. Like he's building a lot of stuff, and he built this software. He built this, and he came from kind of all of our background. He started flipping, he then started renting, then started building new construction, then got into commercial, okay? But the reason I say that is because a lot of software that's out there is built by maybe contractors, maybe custom home builders. It's usually subbed out to a third party like IT or development company, and they just develop it for them, and then they go from there. They start making adjustments. This is 100% focused on this business, investing, rentals, developing, okay? Now, if you don't want this software, all I'm recommending is that you have a software that does these things, okay? You need to budget more quickly and accurately, okay? If it's not helping you do that, then you're wasting money. schedule more efficiently, track your project in real time. Okay, so this is a great software where every step of the process, I can tell you what line items I'm over budget on, under budget on, the variance, the percentages, the price per square foot. It shows me how I'm doing on my overall budget, all that stuff. So at all moments, my lender needs to see something. If I need to see something, my partners, I can make a report and print it out right away. Okay. Schedule more efficiently. This has Gantt charts. Manage contractors and expenses. So this has a CRM for your contractors on it, right? So your project management software should be hitting these bases. And I'm going to focus mostly on this word, efficient, and this word, quickly. Okay, it's about the same word, right? But the idea I'm getting home here is there's a lot of money on this business there's a lot of time spent in this business on things that if you can cut it out even 50%, you can free up a lot of time. How long do you think it takes to make a budget for you guys? This is a question I never ask. Let's say an hour. Raise your hand if you think it's an hour. Okay, let's say 30 minutes. 2 hours. Okay, an hour and a half. Cool. So we're somewhere between an hour, 2 hours. Who thinks it's over 2 hours? Okay. Those are fair thoughts too, because if you want a thorough budget, if I'm making a budget from scratch and I want it thorough, it might take me that long, especially with first drafts, second drafts, final drafts. You would be amazed, and I have videos on YouTube that you can check out. I make budgets in 15 minutes. For new construction, $300,000 projects. You would never believe it. I would have never believed it until I saw this software. You might think it's crazy. It starts with templates. Okay, so I start 75%. Like if there's a starting line and a finish line, I'm 25% to the finish line when you guys are starting, because I start with a template, not a blank template. If I'm doing a new construction build, I pull up a new construction build template. All I have to do is audit and make sure that all that scope of work pertains to this project at hand. Okay, so usually with new construction, I get 90% of the way done, because new construction, there's not a lot of variety, right? Full guts, a little bit more variety. Okay, cosmetic renovations, incredible variety. Okay, so believe it or not, the more complex a project is, the more accurately I can template it, and is the faster I can budget it. Okay. Who believes me that I can make a full budget in 15 minutes? Awesome. Yeah, they've seen it. I do it way too much. Well, we're talking budgeting. Oh, in budgeting? Yeah. All soft costs, all hard costs. Yep.
Permits are just a percentage of whatever the cost is.
Yeah, yeah. In our area for new construction, it is. For rehabbing, it's give and take, but that's right. Yeah, it's so a lot of it's built off of metrics like that. So you can upload the longest it takes me for the budgeting part is doing the takeoffs, right? So as long as I come to the table to budget with how much siding I need, how many windows I need, which is usually looking at building plans or 1 30-minute walk of the property. As long as I have that, I can budget in 15, 30 minutes. I will put up my YouTube channel at the end. Yeah.
What's the name of this software again?
This software is Rehab Valuator. Why don't you click one more? Because I got a trial offer for you guys. If you guys want to give it a shot, it's a really easy pitch because it's $1 for 14 days. Okay? You have 14 days to figure out if it's for you. If it's not, you lose $1. It's not that big a deal, right? And I'm telling you, if you join, make sure you combine that with checking out my YouTube channel. We've edited the video, so I'll have to make sure that it's got everything up there. But start playing around with the templates. That's when your mind's gonna be changed. Your entire business is gonna change. Mine did. Okay, so again, with project management software, it's all about efficiency and saving time. All right, so say I bid on, let's say I bid on a project or a deal once every couple of days. Let's make it easy. And let's just say I bid on 4 deals a month. Okay, it's obviously more than that, but 4 deals a month. And I spend normally 2 hours to make all of those budgets, okay? But with this, I spend 30 minutes. The math right there shows itself. I mean, you're talking about saving hours every month just on budgeting. We're talking also scheduling, tracking, reporting, all that stuff we're saving time on. Might have said money, but saving time on. So that's the whole idea of software. You should be saving a lot of time for your business. This one, I'll tell you, is $49 a month for the basic version, which is all you guys probably need unless you're running really big companies. And if you did look at your return on time investment, return on time invested, so we call it ROT, right? If $49, how many people here, their time is worth more than $50 an hour? Everybody should raise their hand, okay? If your time is worth more than $50 an hour, all this has to do is save you an hour a month, okay? That's all it has to do is save you an hour a month. I'm telling you, it's going to save you more than an hour per budget, okay? All right, let's jump to the next one. Everybody get this? I think so. All right, this is my last tip for you guys. Yep, you're on it already. Focus on building your team. This could potentially be the most important part, okay? I talk about my team at great length of how much they take care of me. I love them to death. I'm telling you, I would not be able to do anything if it wasn't for my team. And if you focus on building your team, life's going to become a lot easier. Mainly for this top one. Who's had a problem caused by the wrong contractor? Let's see all the hands. And now who's had a problem solved by the right contractor? That is all you need to know, right? Because in business, problems are solved by people, right? Unfortunately, it's not usually problems are not usually solved by anything else but people. So you have the right contractors, you have the right team, you have the right partners, even right lenders. I consider all of them my team. You're going to be a lot more successful, be able to do this business a lot easier. Okay? So use a sheet. It's just like a CRM. It's a very basic CRM. You don't need to collect too much information on them. And start filling this out with your team, number one. Number two, notice any vacancies you have, okay? I don't have a drywall guy. I better start looking for that, right? I don't have a good tile guy. I better start looking for that. Notice the vacancies and start filling those out right away. Don't wait till you get a project to build your team, okay? I know that sounds crazy. I know you're going to say, well, a contractor is not going to talk to me until I have a project. They're not going to think of anything as too serious until you have a project potentially, but you still have that contact, you still have that network, that option of somebody to call. That's all that matters. When you finally start putting food on his table by giving you his jobs, he's going to be your best friend as long as he's a good contractor and you like him as well, obviously. But start focusing on building your team, notice the vacancies, fill those out, and be aggressive about it, okay? I tell people this all the time. Don't be, too lazy about it, and again, get to a project and not have a team. That's like the number one question I get. It's so funny. Right when somebody gets a project, I start getting the phone calls and the texts. Do you have this guy? Do you have this guy? Do you have this guy? Don't be that guy. You might have to be there, right? You might have to find one or two people, but don't look for everybody at that moment, okay? So be aggressive. That means when you're at Lowe's, Home Depot, you see a good truck, you see people who look like they know what they're doing, write down that information, put in the sheet. In our sheet, we have vetted, non-vetted, okay? It doesn't mean they have to be vetted. It doesn't mean you ever have to talk to the person, okay? But you have their contact. So now you don't have to Google search, you just pull up this sheet. We're talking about saving time again, okay? Now you have the contact. Now we can actually reach out and get them on the job, okay? So be aggressive. Don't wait. Write down all the numbers you can. We have a system where that VA, if we have a guy in the field and he sees a truck or he sees people at a house working on a job and it's a hardwood contractor, he'll take a picture of the truck, send it, it goes in the file, it ends up in our list. Okay, so we never, ever are running out of contractors. And that's a really, really powerful thing. All right, let's go ahead. And as you can tell, I'm wrapping up. All right, so guys, I could say it again. I don't necessarily need to. I probably will. But if you want to level up your business, start focusing on project management, okay? There's so much information out there for so many different things. Project management is that one thing that we're all missing. And I think, hopefully, I did a really good job displaying why it is so important. So make more money with more predictability, capitalize on big deals. I'm telling you, that's a huge one. Okay, start having the wholesalers bring you deals directly. Okay, start being able to negotiate big deals because nobody else is bidding on them. Start expanding your exit strategies, right? We look at exit strategies all the time as flip, rental, new build, right? But there's actually, in my opinion, I don't even know if this is technically right, but in my opinion, more exit strategies, right? You could exit as a high-end flip, or you could exit as a mid-end flip, right? You could add square footage with an addition, or you could not, right? So being able to do more moves as a project manager in construction gives you more exit strategies. Speaking of additions, of our first 2-3 years where we made a lot of profit, we added square footage on probably 75% of our projects, okay? It worked in our area. We love Northside. You have to be in the right area for it. But it's the idea that extra exit strategy allowed us to make a little bit more money, right? So we went into the deal saying if we don't do an addition, we'll make 50. But if we do an addition, we can make 75. It's a no-brainer, right? If you can actually execute, right? So that's what we're talking about today. Build a stronger team with better relationships and complete projects faster with less turnarounds. All right? So this is my plug at the end. We'll run through it. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm truly not. I just really like being in these environments, being around other investors, meeting new people. And it was about time I got out of Richmond. I would say to get fresh air, but unfortunately, Canada had different thoughts on that. But we give trainings, okay? So a lot of clicks again. Might as well get it all out there. Yeah. So these are all the different trainings we have. These are in-depth video courses with notebooks, all that stuff. We talk about budgeting, construction costs, scheduling. Scope of work is what we're going through right now. We do new construction, subdivisions, and project management software. Okay, so there's a lot of information there. Our resources, we have ebooks on a lot of this stuff. We have our construction cost sheet, like I said. So if you guys, if I was to push it, if I was to hard sell this, I'm telling you, this number right here compared to this value is unfortunately not the same, or fortunately for you guys, not the same. That cost sheet is from 6-7 years of documenting every invoice and receipt. Like I said, I have a VA who constantly is nurturing it. It's expanding every day. It's such a huge value here. We have a scope of work guide and a scope of work sheet. So it's very similar. It's just a great workbook that helps you build your scope of work in more detail. We have templates, and probably our most value, or I would say some of our best feedback is all the way to the right. We have weekly support calls every Tuesday, and those have been a huge hit. We talk about everything we talk about today, everything on the left. We go into really good detail. We give full lessons, 1 hour a week, maybe a little bit more. And we have a private Facebook group. So that's a great group with a bunch of people who are active, very experienced people on there, also very new people on there. A group of true go-givers. I'm telling you, if you put a question on there, everybody answers it, okay? We do project tours. We do other events. But that's everything with the playbook. It's $97 for 6 months of access. And I know you're wondering, how do I sign up? And here's the information. All right, so go ahead. This is not only for the playbook. This is my contact information. This is where you get my YouTube page as well. We had an awesome marketing group. I don't know if you guys know them, Allie, Finish Green. They built this out for me, and it's pretty awesome. So you get all my contact information there. Either unfortunately or fortunately, I noticed my phone number is up there, so just please don't blow me up, okay? Shoot me a text if you want to talk. I'm pretty available, but I do know my phone number is on there. But, yeah, everything you need to know about me is there, and that's it. And I try to end every time I talk with this. when you come to these events, and again, I don't come here to sell, I come here to be around this environment, because there's something to be said about a group of people who on a Thursday night come together to just talk about real estate. Not everybody does this, okay? And in a business where we're all entrepreneurs, right? There's one thing I've always missed. I've been an entrepreneur since a young age, but one thing I always miss is that when you were in a job, you always had somebody to the right and to the left of you that you could gripe with, share successes with, get better together with. But in this business as entrepreneurs, this is the only place we find that. Okay, so you guys are in the right place. I appreciate all of you for coming out. I know I'm in the right room when I'm in rooms like this, and that's all I got for you today. So thanks so much for having me.